I don't care whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. That is a foul that could break someone's leg. Ronnie wouldn't have stood for that. Ronnie would have gone in at half time and he would have probably said a few choice words. He definitely would have said the truth. Because, listen, he's a winner. He's a leader. He knows what it takes to win. So I don't get, for some reason, why we then start playing Paul Pogba alongside Fred as a holding midfield player.
Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm joined by Ince. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Not bad. In London at my daughter's gaff. Did the Wolves Man United game yesterday for the Premier League production. Funny enough, in Stockley Park, where it's based. I felt like running up and going and seeing Stuart Atwell, who was up in the, but we'll talk about it another time. I'm not going to get into that. It's a Monday morning and I'm feeling okay. But yeah, I'm here, I'm there. I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about today.
Good. Well, we'll get straight into it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Man United have got 7 points. We won the game yesterday. I think there's a lot of people on social media and a lot of people in our community are just saying, brilliant, Ronaldo's coming in. We'll talk about Ronaldo a little bit. And, give this team time. There's other people saying that was a smash and grab. Terrible tactics from Solskjaer. What's he doing? And he just keeps getting away with it on individualism. We're going to talk about that Paul Pogba tackle, though, because I came off my reaction yesterday and I had people going, get rid of Paul Ince off your channel. He says Paul Pogba should be getting a red. And I thought, well, this will be an interesting chat for tomorrow morning. But, I mean, come on. That Paul Ince, I nearly called it a Paul Ince tackle, not a Paul Pogba. No, I've seen you go for a tackle like that in the past. What's your problem with that tackle? Because I put it on VAR. Go on.
That is not a Paul Ince tackle, okay? I'm telling you.
Not anymore.
All right, not anymore. It's very rarely when I tackled that, I went highest. Especially in today's game, you can't tackle full stop. And maybe the fans didn't have the liberty of seeing it on a free phrase that I did. Because the free phrase that I saw in the studio when I was working, it was horrendous. Okay, so maybe the fans didn't have that option, hence why. And even Paul Pogba said after the game of his interview, if it was a foul, then he should have got a red. All right, that's what Paul Pogba said on the interview after the game. It wasn't a foul. It was a foul, I would have got a red card. Well, if he said that, that means it was over the top. I've seen it from 4, 5, 6 angles. Listen, the referee hasn't got that. At the time, Mike Dean just obviously didn't see it that way. But then VAR had seen it in every angle possible, and I got to see that. So when you see it, and I'm not sure there's any picture which you might see in the papers today, it was a red card. It wasn't the fact that if you look at Neves' shin pad when he made the tackle, it's gone from being central to being to right. So he's caught him. He hasn't caught him fully. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't caught him fully, but he's caught him. And if he'd have caught him fully, it could have been a leg breaker. Fact to Monday.
My side of the story is that he's got every right to go for that ball, and he gets a bit of the ball. The referee's looking right at it, and he doesn't give a foul, so it's not a foul.
Well, if
it's not a red, so it can't be a red.
Listen, if you show me any clip where he gets a bit of the ball, then I'll stand down. All right.
Why don't you think the ref and VAR's giving it then? Because ultimately, as a United fan, I'm like, look, you flip that round. If that's Neves on Pogba and Wolves go and win it late on, 100%, I'm sat here going, that's a bloody red. This is red tinted glasses. I'm just going, as a United fan, I'm like, yeah, that's not a foul. But ultimately, I had people message. I had Liverpool fans messaging me last night, Arsenal fans. And I'm like, go and speak to VAR. It's not my problem. It's not a foul. It's not like the referees missed it. It's been analysed by the TV.
Yeah,
but I thought it was a foul on Bruno last week against Southampton, and you said he was a bit weak on that. So there's a lot of inconsistencies, isn't there?
Listen, what I'm saying, we've got to be careful about when you're about letting the game flow, as we saw with Bruno last week against Southampton. If that had been the season before, it's a foul on Bruno.
Yeah,
we know that. That's always been the criteria. This year, the referee, we've got this idea. We've got to let the game flow. Now, the one against Southampton, he's got to be stronger. He's got to put his body in the way, okay? But that was completely different to the one that Paul Pogba did, because if you think about it, Paul Pogba's first touch was a bad touch.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay? And this an amount of times, and all the United fans, many other fans, when someone has a bad touch and they're desperate, they lunge. It happens all the time.
It's like your second touch is a tackle, isn't it?
Exactly right. And if you watch the footage of it, as he's gone in there, Neves, the ball's not even touched. It's gone underneath Paul Pogba's his right foot, and Paul Pogba starts to bait it up like that. Up like they're high and they're above his shin. Listen, the only reason why the referee didn't get it was because of Neves' reaction. Because he went down, he went and then got back up. You know what I mean? And so he stayed up, then went down. And that's why Mike Dean didn't give it. But that's not the point here. The point is it was still a bad tackle. Whether he went down, whether he stayed up, whether he went down, I don't give a monkey's. It was a bad tackle. And I love tackling. You know what I mean? United fans see me tackling. You know what I mean? I used to love tackling. So I think I've got more of an idea of what a good tackle is and what a bad tackle is. That's for sure. You can see why Wolves weren't happy about it. You know, but at the end of the day, I think Wolves are more unhappy about the fact they didn't kick the ball out. Because when Fernandes went down in the first half, you know, Wolves kicked the ball out. But the referees had no liberty to kick the ball out. I don't understand this kind of, if a player goes down, unless it's a head injury, why are we kicking the ball out?
No, I don't agree with that either.
I don't get it, Mark. You know what I mean? I really, really don't. If Neves had gone down straight away and stayed down, the referee would have given a foul, or they would have kicked the ball out. The fact that he didn't and he carried on, you know, and then went down, you know, you can say he's got himself to blame. But as the tackle itself, and I was sitting there doing the show with Tim Sherwood, you know, and he said exactly the same. You know, it could have been a bad, disastrous tackle. There's no intent on Pogba. You didn't go out to hurt him. You know, it's just a bad first touch. You lunged, you didn't get the ball, and, you know, it was a foul. But, hey-ho, listen, the boy's not hurt. In the day, we go down the line and score, and we win the game 1-0. So, from that point of view, you know, it was great.
Yeah, you lost me there when you said Tim Sherwood, because he's the plonker who said on Friday night that United fans shouldn't complain about the Glazers anymore because they bought Ronaldo. But you know,
I don't get that. No, I don't get that at all. Because listen, if the Glazers bought in Ronaldo and Mbappe and Neymar and Messi, then they might be okay for a certain period of time. But I don't think Ronaldo's it's like a present for like United fans because the Glazers, you know, because they've been a disaster since day one. And it's sort of been about and never been about United fans. So, you know, if they want to get the fans back on theirs, the Glazers want to get the fans back on their side, they'll have to bowl those bloody players. I'm not sure that's enough neither, but, you know, say hey-ho.
Before we talk about the game then, I just want to say, look, yeah, in relation to that Pogba thing, I think we're going to disagree then, because I just think that that's what VAR's for, and they haven't given it. And if it was the other way around, I probably would have thought it was a foul. But at the end of the day, I don't think United fans should feel any guilt about that. That's just one of those decisions, and you know.
And this is what I'm saying to you, Mark. This is a problem, all right? Because you're saying if it was the other way round, then it was a foul, all right?
I'm biased. That's what it is. That's what it is.
It's bias and there's contradiction. You can't have it both ways. It's either a foul or it's not a foul. It can't be a foul because it's a Wolves player, or because it's a Man United player, but not a foul because it's a Wolves player. That's not fair. I know we're biased, you know, but you can't have it both ways. Just take your Man United head off. All right, and it's me and you. I take a bad touch, all right, and I tackle you like that. Do you expect a foul? I did it to you, remember?
No, I think
I
think there's a doubt there. So what is it? You've just got to go with the attacking side, and we went with the attacking side. But you know what? I think that people get very angry, and I get it. And this, to be honest with you, I quite like this sort of decision because it creates a debate that I think VAR doesn't. So I actually quite like the fact that we've, you know, the Bruno one last week, Southampton scoring, you say, should that be a foul? And then this one has created a lot of controversy, but ultimately it's the referee in VAR. I mean, if I could understand Mike Dean getting it wrong if he hasn't got VAR, but he has got VAR and they've still looked at it. So I think they maybe need to come out and clarify to those people who what that decision was based on. Because you are right, when it's seen from the angles that everybody's seen it, and look, a still can, you know, I've seen some of the stills this morning. It looks like he could break his leg because it's up and over the top of the ball. And we have been told that, well, look at Xhaka's against Man City. He's off the ground. He wins the ball. But you know, off the ground, you're going to get sent off whether you get the ball or not. Pogba is over the top of the ball, and it's not a red card.
Not even a foul, according to VAR.
Not even a foul, yeah.
So I can VI look at these 3 pictures and look at that, and as you said, you've seen them, and say it's not a foul. I don't care whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. You know, that is a foul that could break someone's leg. Okay.
As a minimum, I would have said, oh, you know, maybe it was a foul, but I wouldn't have gone with a red. But
well, look, anyway, if it's a foul, all right, and you looked at the Xhaka situation, there wasn't much. I know Xhaka was 2-footed. He got the ball. Pogba didn't get the ball. He went right. It was over the top. He didn't do it intentionally. Don't get me wrong, but it was just a desperation of obviously first poor touch. Right, I need to learn to win this back. All right, and he's not got the ball. If he got a bit of the ball, a snip of the ball, I'll say, yeah, I believe, yeah, he got the ball. But he didn't get the ball. I've watched it time and time again. I've watched it so many times, so I know that this morning I'm going to come on here and I'm going to say he didn't touch the ball, and he didn't touch the ball. And the fact,
I don't think it. I agree with you there, because I remember last season there was the West Ham guy, there was the Cooper guy for Leeds against Man City, where they've gone to get the ball and they've caught the player and they've had a straight red. So in that sense, you're right. Last season that would have been a red on Pogba, but I actually think it's right that if it's not intentional, you shouldn't get a red card unless it's blatantly reckless. And I think Xhaka launching himself like a Boeing 747, I thought Manchester Airport was going to give him permission to land. He was so high. But Pogba, it's a bad touch. I think most players, probably not yourself, because you probably wouldn't have done the bad touch, but you do a bad touch. I understand why a player goes in. I don't think, he's reaching, and the way Neves takes it away, people will say he's high and everything like that. I think that's just the way you're going to tackle when you've done like that. And if you get a red, it's unlucky. You didn't get a red.
Yeah, it's not good. But then you look at the Perez situation at West Ham a couple of weeks back. There's no contention. He tried to put his body in his way. He's got stood on his foot over his shin, gets a red card. This was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Inconsistency, isn't it?
So it's inconsistent we're talking about. And but anyway, not to matter.
Let's talk about the game then, because I think a lot of the frustration, and I did see some United fans saying, look, we're very lucky to get the goal. Should have been a foul. Some people said a red, but some people said it should have been a foul. And also we didn't deserve it. David De Gea and Mason Greenwood won us the game. And, it was a, again, for Wolves, second game in a row. If anyone saw them against Spurs, I did warn people in the preview. They create a lot of chances. They can't finish chances. They're a good team. I don't know how they've got no points. And they end up with no points again. It must be horrible to be a Wolves fan this morning. But for a United fan, it really was a smash and grab. But I sense from you, there is that frustration that, they're not they're in a false position. You get what you deserve in football. But there was a lot wrong with that performance, did you think, yesterday?
Listen, I mean, I think when you say you get what you deserve, I'm not too sure, because United didn't deserve to get 3 points last week, like yesterday, for sure. But I always go back to the teams that I played in, the Manchester United teams, and there were times where we didn't play well, but you've got to grind out results. You get a bit of luck. You have game changes. You nick games. You're going to nick games this season where you're not expected, where you don't play well. And you're very fortunate. And that's what we saw with Manchester United yesterday. I mean, Wolves were by far the better side, by far the better chances. Trincao had a golden opportunity in the first half. Traore looked like he was just running Man United ragged for the first 15, 20 minutes. And then Saïs had a great chance. As much as it was a wonderful save from David De Gea, especially the second one, he's got to score. I don't care what anybody says. Everyone saying great saves. No, he's got to score. It's an absolute terrible miss. Great for David Gea, because I think he needed that kind of, people start talking about it again. But I just didn't get up the way we set the team up. Listen, we've been saying for the last week or so, Mark, that Varane's got to come back in. We weren't sure it's going to be. Well, we knew it was going to be Lindelof who was going to make way. I was a bit unfair because he played well last week against Southampton.
He was quality though, wasn't he, Varane? I thought
one was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We'll touch base on him in a minute. And but first 2 weeks of the season, Leeds, Southampton, best player in the park's been Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba by a mile. Take away Fernandez's hat-trick, Paul Pogba's been the best player, playing in that role where he's attacking, where he's in the final third, where he's making things happen. Okay? So I don't get, for some reason, why we then start playing Paul Pogba alongside Fred as a holding midfield player. It don't make sense. It really, really doesn't. If you're going to do that, just have one holding mid player on its own. Put a Matic in there, let him do that job. Because Paul Pogba had about, I think, the first half about 29 touches. 85% of those were in, making not his own half. But I could have done what Paul Pogba could have done in that first half. Because all he did he's got it, and he passed it. He went too deep in past the defenders, got it, passed it square. And at one time, this was a funny bit, he was telling Fred where to go. Okay.
Oh, he was trash, wasn't he, Fred? God.
But something like Paul Pogba was telling Fred where to go as a holding midfield player. Now, Fred is meant to be the holding midfield player. He's the one who should be telling Paul Pogba where to go. So if we've got someone like Fred who plays that role week in and week out, and all of a sudden he's playing alongside Paul Pogba, who doesn't play that position week in and week out, why is Paul Pogba telling Fred where he should be, what position he should be or where he should be going as a holding midfield player? That just sums it up for me.
It's not just Pogba though, Paul. I saw Luke Shaw doing it. I saw Maguire doing it to Fred as well, constantly telling him where to go.
He says, you know where to go. What are they doing from bloody Monday to Friday if the holding midfield player doesn't know where to go? And I just thought, Paul Pogba he wasn't happy. You could tell with his body language. It was like he was demonstrating to Ollie that, why am I playing here? You got Van Beek on the bench, you got Magic on the bench. Why have I've got to play here? I didn't understand it. And
so he can start Dan James, who was absolutely pointless again.
Dan James has to go. He has to go, and that's not being horrible.
It's not his fault he gets picked, is it? Why was he picked?
Listen, the bottom line is, the thing is, he played Sancho, but he started him on the left wing. Sancho's been playing for Dortmund right. I mean, that's where Sancho plays. So he's put Dan James right wing, yet buys a right wing in Sancho for 70-odd million and puts him on the left wing. When he plays,
Dan James' best position's left wing as well.
Yeah, exactly. When he first came to United, he played on the left wing. Dan James got a couple of games at got a couple of goals at Old Trafford, and yet he puts him on the right when he should be playing on the left, and Sancho on the left when he should be playing on the right. And he's playing Pogba as a holding when he should be playing more advanced. So there's three positions straight away. You think, and you wonder why you get a performance like that. It just didn't make sense. But as far as Dan James, I think he needs to go out on loan. I really, really do. And to be fair, when you kind of think about, what you've got Rashford to come back. Ronnie's back next week. Green was playing really well. Cavani's now got some games. You can't see Dan James playing a lot of games unless it's an FA Cup game, or an EFL or Cup game. So I think he needs to go and get games. Whether it's a lower Premier League side or a top Championship side, just needs to play. And I think that's something Ollie will make that decision himself. But me, from looking in, he needs to go and play games because he's had a few opportunities this season. He's still young. He's still learning his trade. But he has to do that elsewhere. Go and do that in the Premier League's lower levels or in the Championship, and then come back, refreshed and ready to go, because he's not quite there yet. He's not quite there yet. But yeah, so apart from that, I just thought we got all the tactics wrong. We never looked like causing any problems. But one thing we got about in United, we didn't play well. We didn't play well against Southampton. We didn't play well again against Wolves. We watched the Liverpool-Chelsea game. We were just talking about it, Mark. And the way they play, looking at them to us, as a Manchester United, they seem miles apart. We've just seen City smash Arsenal 5-0. I know it's Arsenal, but, you look at those three teams and the way they play football, and then you watch Man United the last 2 weeks, you kind of think, are we really going to challenge? And is Ronaldo going to make that much difference to us, to challenge the title this year? I think we need more than Ronaldo on the base of yesterday's performance. The thing about United is that we've got game changers, as you say. We've got game changers. We can be shit for 85 minutes, 90 minutes, but we saw we've got people who can change the game. Like
yesterday, yeah.
Spot on. David Gea makes a wonderful save. That was the only mistake Varane made with Saiz, but David Gea made that unbelievable save. Should have scored Saiz, but he made a great reaction save in the second, and then you've got that boy Greenwood again. A lot
of people say that, Paul, just to jump in. They say, United under Solskjaer, he basically just sends a team out there that's well organised, but it's got so many good players in it that they will win you the game on a moment, but the actual tactics are not there. There's many United fans who'll be watching this and they'll say, I don't know what the style of play is. I don't know what the United way is under Ollie. He talks about it a lot in the press conference. Again, yesterday, what was your thoughts on that? Because it's not just yesterday, it was Southampton as well. they are training in the week. Are the coaches just not good enough then, or how does that work? Because you're an ex-player yourself. There's no identifiable way of playing, which you see with the Liverpool, you see it with the Chelsea, you see it with the Man City. And Tuchel's only been there, 8 months? Ollie's been here 3 years with the same coaches behind him, and they just can't get people playing. Paul Pogba's a great player. He looks, out of the game. Fred's just, he should have been subbed after 5 minutes, nearly cost us 2 goals. There's no pattern. Sancho was invisible. Bruno was quiet. Cavani got no chances in 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and you kind of think, but then again, you look at the coaches, and you think, Carrick, young, the other lad come up from the under-23s, can't remember his name.
McKenna,
yeah, young, Ollie inexperienced as far as the manager's concerned. Michael Phelan, bit old school, But so they're not like a Pep or Klopp. We've gone through the years of saying this is how I want my teams to play, even when I managed, I said, right, we're going to play 4-3-3 and we're going to play this way, that way, this way. There was a certain way. I don't think they've got the, what's the word? I've got to be careful here. I don't think I don't think they've got the vision of how they want the team to set up. It's different in our day when we went, right, we play a 4-4-1-1. We had 2 wingers, we had 2 midfield players. You get at your bang, you go out to Giggsy, you go out to Beckham, you go out to Konchelskis. We play from there. We play little balls around the corner, intricate football, nice flow. And yet, we look at the first game against Leeds, and as I said, that kind of, in a way, that kind of forced us into thinking that we were there because it was Leeds. And I said to you, Mark, it's Leeds. They play open. They allow you to play attacking football. There's plenty of spaces to exploit. And we look at the world beaters. What about when we played the Southampton and Wolves and they put 10 men behind the ball and it's hard to get through? And how are we going to open teams up? Because City face it every week. Man City face it every week. Teams playing 10 behind the ball, and they seem to somehow get down the lines, get into over the top, get their chance to score goals. We didn't look like we do that. We don't look like we're able to do it.
We move the ball so slow, though, don't we? You can't make space if you move the ball slow.
It's pedestrian. It's pedestrian football. And that's why sometimes when you got hold of it, how many times yesterday did Pogba go to Fred? Did Fred go back to Pogba? Pogba goes back to the centre half, back into Pogba. And Wolves were just standing there, but then as soon as Wolves won it was like...
Yeah, they played well.
They were off. They were off. And, I think even though we got the result, I didn't get any confidence from the way that we played, and I think, we got Newcastle in a couple of weeks, which you expect to beat them. But we need to improve. We can't just keep relying on game changers or the Fernandos or the Pogbas or the Ronnie. We've got to look like a better team, because if we keep producing that type of performance, it's okay saying, we're winning and we're not playing well. But eventually you can't keep not playing well and keep winning. That's what I said about Wolves. Wolves, for me, I've got a lot of confidence about Wolves. I'm not disheartened by Wolves one little bit, being an ex-captain of Wolves, because the way they are playing, they will start to get results. They better Tottenham last week in the second half. They were a better team against Man United, just not clinical enough. So if I'm a Wolves player, even though we haven't won a game, all right, I've not scored a goal, I'll be actually sitting in that change room more upbeat than if I was a Man United player sitting in their change room. Because
they'll be all right, Wolves, won't they? Their aspirations.
They'll be fine. But for Man United, what is the identity of their team? How do we know we're going to play? We know how Watford are going to play. Whether they go long ball, we know how Burnley are going to play. People might not like the way Burnley are going to play, but at least we know what they're trying to do. I'm not sure what we're trying to do.
We won't get away with it. Yeah, you're right, because we won't get away with that every week. You won't. You're not going to win that game 1-0 every week, because it doesn't matter how lucky you are, you can't keep rolling that dice. I think if that game yesterday was played 10 times, we'd probably win it 2 or 3, maybe 3, probably 2. But on the coaching side, it's interesting. I've mentioned this before. You talk about Pep, you talk about Klopp. There's a team there. Mourinho always had a team with him. But you got to remember with Ollie is that he wasn't even meant to get the job. It was an interim job. He was thrown together with Mike Phelan and Michael Carrick and McKenna. That would be like if they'd gone for you. If they'd said, Paul, we've just sacked Mourinho. We want you to the end of the season. It's only a 6-month thing. You come in, you get Giggsy in, get Brian Kidd back because you know him from way back, and then you promote someone from the youth setup. it's just they're just thrown together. It's not a. It's not actually. It doesn't surprise me that it's not working as a coaching vision because they're mates, but they've just basically been thrown together, and it's like, oh, we got a few results, and now I don't think they know collectively. Maybe they don't fit collectively because it's not like it was your coaching team. It's normally thought out, isn't it?
Yeah,
I sense that was thrown together.
Yeah, no, normally it is thought out. I think obviously if I was there, I think it's different because I've managed for 7, 8 years. I've managed in the Premier League. I've managed in all the leagues. There was in England, so I know from the teams that I've had how I want to play and how we go about that. You know, I've had 8, 9 years of managerial experience. You know, you think Ollie's just been at Cardiff, Mould, and in the biggest club in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and now whether it was a 6-month period or a 6-year period, you know, when you know you're going to get that job, you've got to think, well, how do I want my team to play? That's the first thing you think, because when you go for an interview, they ask you, how do you want your team to play? What formation? How would you like your team to play? Just so they know what your vision you have, what's your template. And
I doubt they ask him that at Old Trafford, because who would ask him? Bloody bank managers. We ain't got anyone, have we?
No, we haven't. This is the thing. You know, we haven't got an identity. We've got what we've done. We've just got a load of money. We've thrown it into Ollie. We've got the best players we can possibly bring to the club. We've got the game changers. And normally you just think, right, if we've got the best players, they'll figure it out themselves. The best players on the pitch will work it out themselves. You wouldn't have to tell Pogba when to pass. I mean, we saw a couple of times yesterday with Pogba and Fernandes. They've got that telepathic thing where they just go bang over the top. They know that's nothing to do with coaching. That's just 2 world-class players knowing how to play with each other. Yeah. And I think this is where we are with United. When you bring in the top players, they do it themselves. You don't really need a coaching. You know what I mean? They just go and do it themselves and play with each other. And that's what I see at United. I don't see the vision. Well, this is where we very rarely play it from the back. We can't cut teams apart. You know, we are Manchester United, and when you go to the lesser teams, how are we going to exploit them? How are we going to get past them? How are we going to get past that deep block? How are we going to get past the 10 men that's going to be in front of us? We ain't going to do it just by going square. That's under 23 football. That's like youth team football. You know, and that's what it looks like sometimes. Like yesterday, we must have played 15, 20 balls just square. There was nothing we didn't take any risks. We didn't try and slide it in. We didn't try and pop around the corners. We didn't do the things that excite us. It was just like, and we looked tired. You know, Sancho looked tired. You know, and I think Sancho's got to understand that, you know, this is the Premier League and it's different from being at Dortmund where, you know, you don't need to get back, you know, and normally Dortmund after 20 minutes are 2-0 up or 3-0 up. So the game opens up a lot. When you're making United and the lesser teams put 10 men behind the ball, this is where you spend your £70 million on Sancho, you know, and your money on Ronnie. You know, they're the ones. But I think he looked tired yesterday. You know, at times he just couldn't get back. And then because he got tired, then he kept giving the ball away a couple of times. So we're going to see a lot more of him, that's for sure. But I think, you know, he's had a couple of opportunities now off the bench, and he started yesterday. And I think he needs to get better.
You've spoken a few times over the summer about United needing a top-class striker. We've definitely got that now in Ronaldo. He's back at United. What is he going to bring to that team? Many people are saying he'll be watching that game from yesterday and going, what have I bloody done? But he's such a big personality, you know, and you've played yourself as a big personality and with big personalities. Does a player come into that setup? Because if Ronaldo played yesterday and that was his debut, he's going to be, I've had no service because there was no service. Does a player like that just sit there and take their wage, or does a player like that go in the dressing room and go, what the bloody hell's going on here, coach? This ain't good enough. What's he going to bring to that team, Ronaldo?
Yeah, so funny enough, I said that yesterday, you know, on that first half performance, you know, you could probably bet your bottom dollar arse that all the lads went in at half time and nothing was said. You know, maybe I presume Harry Guy might have said something, but I can't, when I looked at that team.
Well, Bruno was moaning at the ref at half time again, wasn't he? Instead of getting in the dressing room and moaning at the players.
This is what I said last week, didn't I? I said exactly the same thing last week. When he ain't playing well, he ain't getting the ball, or his things ain't going his way, all he does is moan at the ref, moan, and he's got a little psychic fed alongside him. I said that's no good to United. That's no good. You know, try, as you said, use that energy on the football pitch and use it at half time. But I think, you know, Ronnie wouldn't have stood for that. Ronnie would have gone in at half time and he would have probably said a few choice words. He definitely would have said the truth. Because listen, he's a winner. He's a leader. He knows what it takes to win. We've now got Varane in now, who's a leader. Exceptional yesterday, you know what I mean? So all of a sudden you go Maguire, Varane, Ronnie. There's 3 leaders there. Now, you know, we've got the design commitment and don't accept second best, because that first half was second best.
Yeah.
You know, and put it this way, can you see Ollie, McPherson having a go at, you know, Paul Pogba and, you know, Fernandes? You know, I can see Fergie. I mean, to put it one, forget about Ronnie. If that had been Sir Alex Ferguson as manager, he would have tore the paint off us. You know, he would have tore the paint off us. And I think sometimes that's what that United team needs. Sometimes I think it needs that kind of, you know, really having a go at them. Listen.
Well, he admits himself he doesn't do it. He says I'm not that sort of manager, and that comes across very often when we have crap first halves, isn't it? You know, we don't start till the second half a lot of the time.
All the time. Wolves did that all last season. And the thing is, you know, it's not that you have to be. I was, when I managed teams, I was never like that. I believe it or not, I wasn't. But when I wasn't happy, I'd let them know. And then they'd know I wasn't happy because I don't do it week in and week out. So whether Ollie's like that or not is irrespective. He can't come in and let that performance go by without someone going, you saying to someone, that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. You know, you can't go through that way because, you know, as you said, the performances, people think they can just get away with bad performances because the manager's never going to have a go at them. You know, and this is where you need your Varanes, this is where you need your Ronnies to stand up and say, well, you ain't doing this. We need to be better at this. We need to be doing that. And if you've got 2 or 3 of them, like Maguire, Varane and Ronnie, Fernandes maybe 2, I'm not sure what it's like in the change room, then all of a sudden you've got 3 leaders who can then kind of have that kind of, you're bigger when you've got, stronger when you've got more than one person.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will change. But I mean, he needs the service. He ain't going to play out on the left. He ain't going to play out on the right. Ollie said yesterday in his interview, well, at the moment he's going to play up front. I'm not sure about at the moment. That's where he's going to play.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to play left or right. He can't move. He's 36, but he needs that service. He needs the ball in the box. If he plays Greenwood on the right hand side, you know, Greenwood's not really a cross side. He likes to come in and do his little bits, then he gets his goal like he did yesterday. Left hand side. Again, we're not actually a team that crosses balls, are we? How many times yesterday did we see Wan-Bissaka in that right side and then just go back into midfield? You know, how many times did Luke Shaw get the ball and cross it in? You know, this running these balls in the box, balls in the airs. You know, we need to find a way now to where we're going to get balls to Ronnie, to get the service to Ronnie. And that's something that the staff will have to work on.
I think we'll have to play a very different way. Look, we will see how it builds out, Paul. But again, thank you very much for coming on. Some very interesting conversation this morning. I mean, the positive is we've got Ronaldo coming in, 7 points. That's not a terrible start to the season. And
no, not at all.
And Ronaldo, as you said, I think I'm encouraged by Ronaldo coming in because I just don't think he's going to stand on that pitch and say, he'll be shouting at Fred. He'll be going, fucking move the ball, mate. You know, stop passing it sideways because otherwise he's a tourist.
But the thing is, and this is what I'm saying to you, you've got Carrick who's a midfield player. You've got Mickey Phelan who's played in midfield. You know, surely, you know, I can't understand why we've got United players telling Fred where to be. Now, surely if I'm sure they do 11v11s on a Thursday or where it may be, surely those type of people will be saying, Fred, bang, you should be in this position. When the ball comes here, I need you here, X, Y, and Z. You know, they paid a lot of money for Fred. He wasn't cheap. He wasn't cheap. So you're buying a player who basically doesn't know where to play in the role that we buy him for. No, Luke Shaw should be telling Fred where to go, X, Y, and Z. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, and things we always keep talking about Fred, and sometimes I feel a bit like it's not fair. But
well, it's not. It isn't fair, is it? Because it's not his fault. He gets picked. He just shouldn't be picked.
Yeah, and you got, and sometimes, you know, but you've got to be honest. You've got to be honest. And like even yesterday, I would have took Fernandes off. I don't care. Some people think, I don't know whether he thinks he can't be taken off, but you know, if I wasn't playing well, Fergie would take me straight off. We play Liverpool.
Van der Beek's not had a minute, has he, in 3 games, and yet the midfield's been terrible. What does that say? Put a transfer request in, Donny. What's the point?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, we played Liverpool once. Palace had a nightmare. Fergie went, right, you're coming off. Fergie would do that. So because he's Fernandes, if he ain't playing well, take him off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's got to stand because listen, he might give you that magic moment. He might give you that free kick. Maybe it'd be different if Ronnie's there. because Ronnie can take the penalties and Ronnie can take the free kicks. Who is going to take the free kicks, by the way? Who's going to take the penalties? Are we going to have this kind of, well, I take the penalties? Well, I'm here now. So as much as it's great to have Ronnie here, you know, there still could be that kind of, you know, underlying situation where, well, I take the free kicks, well, I take the penalties. With Ronnie's, well, I take that. All these things can happen, you know. So much as it's a great thing, I just hope it doesn't turn into one of those where you see Richarlison the other day, you know, that type of stuff. You don't want to see that type of stuff. So
Ronnie will pull rank, won't he? I mean,
will he?
I think Bruno's in his pocket really at Portugal.
You think so?
Well, he takes the penalties for Portugal, doesn't he, Ronnie? So
yeah.
Bruno get in line. Might do Bruno some good, to be honest, to get in the shade a bit, because you know, I think he's turned quite petulant this year, like you say. He's starting to argue, and maybe Ronaldo just, you know, Bruno's still got a bit to learn. I think he's just had to be the main man at United because he's the best player. But I think it might do him some good to actually, because he looks up to Ronaldo, to just, you know, whether you're a leader or not, it's always helpful if you've got someone who's more of a leader than you, isn't it? Like you say, because it just it shares the load out.
Yeah, you know, you're probably right. But we're seeing the next couple of weeks, aren't we? It's exciting. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Well, yeah, I'm very well. Yeah, we've got a platform. Let's see what we build on. But I do agree with people about the way that we're playing it. It is a concern. But look, thanks for coming on, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always good to see you, mate. And see you again in the week, eh?
Yeah, definitely. And thanks everyone for watching. And make sure you smash a like. And we'll speak to you again soon.